Bhajadana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Bhajadana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Bhajadana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajracharya Asasata Shri Śrimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajracharya Asasata Shri Śrimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Prem Sekaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Yamuna Devi Ki Ganga Devi Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Tulsi Devi Ki Vrindavan Dham Ki Mayapur Dham Ki Sankirtan Yagya Ki Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Gaur Premanandi all glories to assembled devotees all glories to assembled devotees all glories to assembled devotees all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga glories to Srila Prabhupada Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Staya Vitale Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Today we're reading from Śrimad Bhāgavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 31, Text 39 and 40. Sangam nakuryat pamada sujatu. Please chant. Oh, okay. I'll just say each word then. Sangam na kuryat pramadasu. Oh, now it's there. Jatu yogasya param arurukshuhu. Yogasya param arurukshu. Matsevaya pratilabhyatmalabho. Vadantiya niraya dvaramasya. Sangam nakuryat pramadasujatu. Yogasya padam arurukshuhu. Matsevaya pratilabhyatmalabho. Vadantiya niraya dvaramasya. Please chant. Samnipurya Panamadasujatu. Asamparam Paramarukshu.
Matsevaya pratilabdhatmalabho.
Pratilabdhatmalabho.
Vadantiya nirya
Atiti Nathaya Dvaramasya. Sangam Nakuryat Pramadasujatu. Yogasya
Sangam Nakuryat Pramadasujatu. Yogasya Param Paramarukshu. Matsevaya Pratilabdhatmalabho. Varantiya niraya dvaramasya.
Ladies. Sangam Nakuryat Pramadasujatu. Yogasya Param Paramarukshu. Matsevaya Pratilabdhatmalabho. Vajantiya niraya dvaramasya. Sangam Nakuryat Pramadasujatu. Yogasya Param Paramarukshu. Sevaya Pratilabdhatmalabho. Sangam, association, not, kuryat, one should make, pramadasu, with women, jatu, ever, yogasya, of yoga, param, culmination, param, topmost, arurukshu, one who aspires to reach, matsevaya, by rendering service unto me, pratilabdha, obtained, atmalabha, self-realization. Vedanti, they say, Ya, which women, Niraya, to hell, Dvaram, the gateway, Asya, of the advancing devotee, one who aspires to reach the culmination of yoga and has realized his self by rendering service unto me should never associate with an attractive woman, for such a woman is declared in the scripture to be the gateway to hell for the advancing devotee. We can read together. One who aspires to reach one who aspires to reach the culmination of yoga and has realized his self by rendering service unto me should never associate with an attractive woman, for such a woman is declared in the scripture to be the gateway to hell for the advancing devotee. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The culmination of yoga is full Krishna consciousness. This is affirmed in Bhagavad Gita. A person who is always thinking of Krishna in devotion is the topmost of all yogis. And in the second chapter of the first canto of Śrimad Bhāgavatam, it is also stated that when one becomes freed from material contamination by rendering devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he can at that time understand the science of God. Here the word pratilabdhyatma labha occurs. Atma means self and labha means gain. Generally, conditioned souls have lost their atma or self, but those who are transcendentalists have realized the self. It is directed that such a self-realized soul who aspires to the topmost platform of yogic perfection should not associate with young women. In the modern age, however, there are so many rascals who renounce that who recommend that while one has genitals, he should enjoy women as much as he likes, and at the same time, he can become a yogi. In no standard yoga system is the association of women accepted. It is clearly stated here that the association of women is the gateway to hellish life. The association of women is very much restricted in the Vedic civilization. Out of the 4 social divisions, the brahmachari, vanaprastha, and the sannyasi, 3 orders are strictly prohibited from the association of women. Only the grihastas, or householders, are given license to have an intimate relationship with a woman, and that relationship is also restricted for begetting nice children. If, however, one wants to stick to continued existence in the material world, he may indulge in female association unrestrictedly. So I was asked to do 2 verses here, so I'll go on to text 40. I'll just chant the Sanskrit. Yobayati sanayamaya yosid deva vinirmita tam ikshe tatmano mrityum trinai kupam ivavritam. The woman created by the Lord is the representation of Maya, and one who associates with such Maya by accepting service must certainly know that this is the way of death, just like a blind well covered by grass. Purport. Sometimes it happens that a rejected well is covered by grass, and an unwary traveler who does not know of the existence of the well falls down, and his death is assured. Similarly, association with a woman begins when one accepts service from her, because woman is especially created by the Lord to give service to man. By accepting her service, a man is entrapped. If he is not intelligent enough to know that she is the gateway to hellish life, he may indulge in her association very liberally. This is restricted for those who aspire to ascend to the transcendental platform. Even 50 years ago in Hindu society, such association was restricted. A wife could not see her husband during the daytime. Householders even had different residential quarters. The internal quarters of a residential house were for the women, and the external quarters were for the man. Acceptance of service rendered by a woman may appear very pleasing, but one should be very cautious in accepting such service, because it is clearly said that woman is the gateway to death or forgetfulness of oneself. She blocks the path of spiritual realization. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmritam Gena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Didatira Svadantikam. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Now, I'm assuming that the women are hoping I'm going to circumvent these purports and verses and give a whole different line of thought, but can't be done, because Lord Kapila Dev himself, he's saying here, like even he doesn't want to take the blame for all of this, because he's saying right here in text 39 that that this is declared in the scripture. So he's even putting the onus on the scripture. He doesn't want to even accept it. And you may be familiar with the website called Śrimad Bhāgavatam class.com, where all the classes that have been submitted are there, and nobody has submitted classes on any of these previous verses except text number 40, Jayadvaita Swami, of course. He did submit a verse on it, very nice verse. And I think almost all speakers, when they come to this verse, they dread having to speak about it. It's not, it's something like all of this is so prevalent and so present, yet it's taboo to speak of it. It's uncomfortable, we could say, to speak of it. But if we remember this whole third canto, starting, from chapter 19, this whole canto is beginning after the whole description of the marriage of Kardama Muni and Devahuti, and then the birth of 9 daughters, and then Kardama Muni leaving home, and then before leaving, Devahuti asking for a son, because Brahma told her that when you get married, you will have a son who will give you spiritual knowledge. So she remembered that. So we have to keep in mind that all of this, this is all in response to the inquiry of Devahuti. So Devahuti said, I am very sick of the disturbance caused by my material senses. For because of this sense disturbance, my Lord, I have fallen into the abyss of ignorance. And your lordship is my only means of getting out of the darkest region of ignorance, because you are my transcendental eye, which by your mercy only I have attained after many, many births. So now be pleased with me and dispel my great delusion. So remember, Devahuti's asking for the raw truth. She doesn't want any sugarcoating. She wants to know, the absolute truth, how she can get out of the darkness of ignorance. Remember, she had great material enjoyment with Kardama Muni after performing austerities, and then for 100 autumns flying in a beautiful aerial city, and enjoying like topmost pleasures available. So now she's like, I'm sick of it, because all of that's temporary and all of it's gone. Her daughters, all 9 daughters, grew up miraculously and got married and went away, and then her husband went away, and now Kapila will go away. So she wants to know, okay, like what's the best? So after, telling all about pure devotional service, Kapila Dev tells her that he explains the glories of devotional service, fundamental principles of material nature, understanding material nature, and then the execution of devotional service, and then more explanation of devotional service. Then, these last few chapters, he starts speaking of, you could say, the obstacles to that highest perfection, the obstacles to pure devotional service. And so he is explaining this. And as was mentioned, asked a few days ago, like Prabhupada, it says all women must be married and all men should avoid it because it's hellish. So that's a little quandrum, but of course not all men will avoid it. Almost all of the grihastas now in the ISKCON movement who were brahmacharis, they read these verses and they had strong sangha together, and they said, we will never do it. Like, how could one do it upon reading this verse? You think, how is it possible? But eventually they did. So now I only know a couple of the women in this temple, really one I know well, but all the women, I believe, are standing in line waiting patiently. But what's this great trepidation? Why would I do it? Why would I get married? But although, if you're thinking every day, should I? Should I not? Should I? Should I not? Should I? Should I not? That means you should. And because in order to remain brahmachari, first of all, you need very strong sangha. Like we see in India, there's very strong brahmachari ashrams, even 300 brahmacharis, and probably of those, about 100 are very strong. And also, what's the pastime of brahmacharis? Their pastime is reading Śrimad Bhāgavatam. I see that's what they do for fun and for recreation. Read Śrimad Bhāgavatam. And so besides that, though, the thing is, everyone's waiting, like not only here, everywhere I go, everywhere there's devotees, like so much wanting to get married, but not find, there's not really a system to find a spouse. Of course, in India, the parents find a spouse, and that's one problem if you're a devotee and your parents are not devotees, because then they want to find a spouse who has material qualities, not considering. And for a devotee, that's unacceptable, because our main qualities are devotional qualities that we're looking for. Like many years ago, more than 20, one devotee in Denver, he told me he's looking to find a wife. I always ask, well, what are you looking for? What qualities? He said, I would like a cross between Srimati Radharani and Saraswati, the goddess of learning, because he was very cerebral. I said, sorry, they're already taken. And he's like 50 years old and has never gotten married. And we know others like Chandrasekhar, who never get married because no one's good enough. Well, that's right, no one is good enough. That's the thing. If you're looking for the perfect, like you want the perfect, she has to be extremely beautiful and very sweet and submissive. And this is Kali Yuga. And good luck with that. And if you did get that, what would happen? You'd become attached, very attached. Whereas otherwise, like if it was so easy, like we hear so much about attachment to the spouse, but why is there so much divorce if there's such great attachment? because now there's not such great attachment. So that's why one can discard their partner and get a new partner. And some are actually waiting for death, like how I can get out of this religiously. I'm not going to get divorced because why? I'm committed to my vows. We take spiritual vows at initiation and marriage. And so I'm committed to my vows, but when death comes, I'll be glad to get out of this relationship. Some of it is hellish, like it's saying here, some of it can be hellish. And so we see it's quite a dilemma, and why so many devotees are waiting, and it's kind of sad, that they can't find a good spouse. And the thing is that understandably for the men reading this, it's like, yeah, why would I want to do that? So why would you want to do it? Maybe we should ask some of the grihastas here, why did you do it? Like for the men, I'll tell you, for the women, we do it because it's recommended a woman is protected. And what is that protection? That protection is that anyone with even a tiny bit of, not even culture, but any kind of civility, he knows if a woman's married, she's off limits. So I won't entertain any possibility of an intimate relationship with her. So that's the main protection. Although really, the real protection for a woman is her own chastity. Because no matter how much of a valiant prince you may have for a husband, if a woman is not chaste, she won't be protected. So that chastity is the real protection. We see that the main protection is from men who are lusty. That's the protection that we're looking for, because now, like Prabhupada writes, how women, want from their husband, like naturally marriage means home and children and good food and possessions and furniture and all these things. But now a woman says, in the modern day, I used to say a woman needs a man, but now I say that what she needs is money in her hand. For to accept it from him means she'll be obliged to fill his dreams, and then her own just might get lost along the way. That was written by a devotee just after getting divorced. But the thing is, like for real, and the thing is, now women can make their own money. They don't need you to provide, although that's very nice, but it's not a necessity. And so there's this independence. They're not so much dependent on their husband, but in previous ages, when they were dependent, just like now we have a welfare system, and you can get food stamps, and so you don't need your husband, a husband really, financially, whereas previously you did. Like in India, I think it's much harder to get social services and social help. And so then, and also, we know that in the strict culture, when a girl leaves home to get married, she can't come back home. Her father has given her in charity to a boy, and then she can't come home. So she's really dependent, especially if she has young children. And, so even if she wanted to work, she has young children. And so she's much more dependent and therefore submissive and grateful, very grateful for that. And so then why would a man get married? Well, besides, one thing here about sex life, well, there's almost no sex life in Grihastha life, because how many children do you want? Because sex is for having children. That's what it's stated here. It's for having children, and really, how many children? So that means almost no sex life anyway. So if that's one's motivation, it's very, very meager. And then, but one gets married for companionship, like, to have somebody that shares your life with you, somebody that, like, especially women, to just speak our problems, that's like most of the solution. To have someone who will just listen, that this and, I didn't sleep last night and I have a headache and I'm really hungry and whatever. Just someone to bounce off, and that helps a lot. But also it's just that kind of companionship, because in an institution setting, one could feel kind of uncared for, kind of lost, like on their own. They're on their own. It's not like a person that's looking out for them, like, or if they get sick, to take care of them. And then also children. Now, there's some Indian devotees here. I'd like to ask you, did you ever see your father wash a dish at your house or cook and serve prasadam? Indian. You're Indian? No, of course not. But Indian devotees. Yes. Really? Who said that? You did. That's pretty rare, right? And that's kind of modern. I've never heard anyone say yes before of the young Indian men. They have much more defined roles, you can say, and Indian women.
He lived in Germany, though.
Oh, that doesn't count. Yeah, you're westernized. But anyway, and the thing is, and changing diapers. You ever see your dad do that? Oh, you're the only one. You didn't have any younger siblings.
I do, but I don't know.
Okay, but in America, you know what? It's like a lot of household life is equality, especially when both are working. So then both do the cooking, both do the cleaning. Some may like it, like I don't cook, but my husband is a cook. So I like to wash dishes, and that's great compatibility there. And I like to do laundry, and certain things you like to do, but things that neither like to do, well, then you share the responsibilities. Both take care of babies and change diapers, and if they're good at it at least. But nowadays, like it's like there's so much shared. So that's another kind of thing in marriage, but actually it's really not that bad, as well, of course I'm not going to contradict the scriptures, but and one thing is, see, brahmachari life gives you that advantage, and brahmacharini life, because then later on, after it's all over, the whole whirlwind of married life, then you have that strong foundation, and you very easily can adapt the same kind of lifestyle. And being a brahmachari and brahmacharini all throughout your grihastha life, you live that lifestyle as well. And so it's extremely valuable. So we see that women both get married to quiet the mind. It's not really an increase, to increase sense gratification. Rather, it's to decrease, because then we're no longer thinking, oh, maybe that one, maybe this one, maybe that one. Then it's no more do I have to think of the opposite sex. So in that sense, the mind becomes very peaceful, and there's not so much agitation like that. Now, the thing is that we see it's mentioned here that only one ashram allows for intimate association, and the main thing here is accepting service. Like I told you about only Jayadvaita Swami gave class on this verse, and he was like, I was editing, he was editor of of the Śrimad Bhāgavatam, Prabhupada's books, and right when this book came out, the third canto, and when he read that about service, then he said, I was very much keen on observing it. And he worked at the press, and every day one brahmacharini, she used to do the 4 o'clock offering every day, and then every day she would bring him a cup of fruit salad. And he'd say, thank you. And he said, this is Mahaprasana, but I'm not going to honor it. He would give it to someone else. Because he said, as soon as we accept service, what happens is a debt. We're in debt to the person who served us. We naturally, we want to reciprocate. And he's like, how many sannyasis have, he said, we could probably count in 5 or 10 minutes, like 40, who have given up sannyas because of accepting service from women. And he's like, if you're looking for a guru, and that's one thing to consider, you're examining the guru and he'll examine you too. And then if one is, always accepting service from women, especially like one in particular, then that's like an alarm, that goes off. So sannyasis are meant to be very strict, and brahmacharis as well. So the women may feel that sometimes they're being kind of harsh, you could say, or impersonal, but that's their own protection. Just as a woman protects herself by her chastity, the brahmacharis also protect themselves by their chastity. And so now in ISKCON movement, our dress has changed. In the old days, all the ladies wore sari, and now it's no longer fashionable. And if we go out the door, like a Times Square, I don't know if any of you saw, like almost naked ladies there dancing around. And the day before yesterday at Tompkins Square, very ugly lady, dancing. And you just go out the door and women are hardly dressed, just in their bathing suit, practically, bathing suit. And so it's like an austerity, because Prabhupada mentioned this attraction is a physiological attraction. Like women are not attracted in that way. Women are attracted to qualities, not bodies. And so, but men are attracted to bodies often, and that's why marriage is arranged, because you may be attracted to someone just on the body, and then that's not going to last. They're going to get old, and they'll no longer be beautiful. So that is should be the last consideration, the attractiveness. One thing I thought interesting, it's talking here about, attractive women as if it's like a curse, but actually beauty is one of the results of piety, right? To have beauty and wealth, education, aristocracy, that is the result of pious activities in a previous life. So it's not a curse that women are beautiful. And still, I guess, for a brahmachari, it's not. So, I was thinking, okay, the style has changed. A lot of things have changed in ISKCON since the old days. Many standards have changed. And what to speak will all be dying in the next 10 and 20 years, all the Prabhupada disciples. And then our youth will take over the movement. And what will become of it? But anyway, then, again, all the new babies being born, many of them were Prabhupada disciples in their last life. And now they're, so there'll be another shift, I believe, in kind of standards, spiritual standards. But at least in the temple, as a service to the men, we should dress with our body covered. Like I see in the temple, I don't understand, but when our ladies dress in such an attractive way with very tight clothing and tight jeans, and why do that in the temple? This is the sanctuary from the outside world where that's like everywhere you look. And Prabhupada writes like all the advertisements, all the billboards, selling anything. It's a woman selling it, the advertisements there. So it's like a kind of respect and service to each other that we want to protect each other. And then, however, also help for those who are wanting to get married, help them because, when we were, some of us, most of us, I think, were non-devotees and came to Krishna consciousness, and we mingled very freely. And it wasn't like, like now it's like, yikes, it's the opposite sex and you get all nervous and all. But we were just friends, platonic friends. And there was no sexual kind of attraction. And, generally we had one boyfriend or girlfriend, and then we had friends. But now we don't have friends. In Krishna consciousness, the segregation is highly recommended, as is recommended here. So therefore, it's difficult. It's difficult to really get to know someone, and it's difficult, like we're talking about, being chaste and being shy, and then like how it goes about, how we can have some, I guess there are like, marriage.com or some kind of Krishna conscious, how to actually find suitable spouses, because like here, I think all these girls are highly qualified girls, although I don't know them well, but I think so. And so how to arrange for that, I guess it's a big problem going on everywhere I go. And there's people waiting, and then, you get older and older, and 30 and 40, and getting married at 50, and then it's not so good. So, so anyway, Prabhupada has a little sarcasm in here, and, kind of humorous sarcasm that he's using. He says here how now there's so many different groups are saying, yeah, you can associate freely. God gave you these genitals, so use them. So he says, in no standard yoga system, but if one wants to stick to continued existence in the material world, he may indulge in female association unrestrictedly, and other kinds of statements like that. And so, I'm sorry that I can't change, the words of scripture, because Prabhupada did actually many times say very favorable things, and of the many couples that I know, many times the wife is more spiritually advanced in the sense she certainly participates in hearing Śrimad Bhāgavatam and attending kirtan, attending morning program, and refraining from sinful activities, or you can say kind of deviant activities as far as eating and things like that, many times more. And Prabhupada said too about that, remember he said, he was talking about women, or they read, and he said, but these women, these are Vaishnavis, and by their association you will become purified. So he said many things like that, and he said, and he encouraged Yamuna and Dinatarani to have their brahmacharini ashram, without the association of men at all, because devotees complain to Prabhupada that Yamuna has, started her own, she has her own program going. And he said, that's very good. And he even went to visit them at their ashram in Northern California. And he said that Nandarani, he said, she's more intelligent than Dayananda. You may know Dayananda, he's a very intelligent person. He wrote several books. He said, she's more intelligent. he also said that about Arundhati, who her husband is, Sanskrit scholar, so very intelligent, but he said Arundhati's more intelligent. And so it's not, of course, black and white, just like say a woman is Brahminically inclined, and then there's a man who's Shudra, very unbrahminical. Not that Shudra is a bad thing, we need lots of Shudras to clean the temple. We take on that service. But would you say that she's not more spiritually elevated than him just because he's a man? Just because he's a man doesn't mean he's more intelligent, or, as mentioned, that he has more of a chance, more of a chance for spiritual advancement. But if he doesn't take advantage of it, and then the women are taking advantage, then what's the better, situation? And so again, in marriage, the main compatibility is commitment to our vows, and regardless of, because believe me, there's no person perfect except Krishna, and there's no place perfect. Because I've been to many temples, and I pick out the essence of those temples, and then there's always things that I wish were different. So it is the material world, and it's not meant to be too comfortable. It's meant to be a little bit uncomfortable. Like I was saying, if you had the perfect goddess of a wife who was extremely beautiful and sweet and submissive, then you would want to stay in the material world. But otherwise, we're like, let's go. And then old age is very helpful for renunciation, natural renunciation, and all that accumulation of possessions. Then you spend the last 10 years of your life trying to divest of it, because then you realize it's all kind of a burden. So better in the beginning, since you're trained brahmacharis, brahmacharinis, to minimize material possessions. Okay, so I guess I'll stop now and ask if there's any questions or comments. What's your name, Prabhu? Narada Muni? Oh, one thing, Narada Muni is a great exception. He had, the mother of Prahlad Maharaj living at his ashram. And Prabhupada writes, you may question, how can a sannyasi have a woman living at his ashram? But you cannot question Narada Muni. And Prabhupada, when he was once with his sister, and one sannyasi servant in the room, and the sannyasi said, I have to go get something. He said, no, you can't leave. You can't, I'm a sannyasi. I cannot be alone with a woman. This is his elderly sister, and he would not be alone with her. So, but Narada Muni's exception. But yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Just to confirm, that's not me. I'm definitely not the exception.
You did say Das.
But I just wanted to add a comment of appreciation for this class. Sometimes we think about this aspect of preaching in time, place, and circumstance, and we try to change things so much that we forget the standard of which our acharya is setting, and kind of finding the difference between what's a principle and what's a detail. But I also was thinking a lot about what Srila Bhakti-tirtha Maharaj said once, and he said that actually more females are going back to Godhead than males. Bhakti-tirtha Maharaj said that, and I found this a very profound point. That I think that the reasoning is because it also comes nowadays from a lack of training. I think back in the day, most people were brahmacharis in the ashram, but at least nowadays in America, what I'm seeing is most people aren't brahmacharis at all. And they don't get any type of, and also the females, they don't get any type of proper training. And as I think Kadamba Maharaj would say, don't become a half-baked cookie. And so that lack of training actually has people thinking that they're entering into this ashram for enjoyment. But the whole goal is to attain bhava and prema. And that goal, if that goal isn't set, then you're not entering in for an aspect of purification. then that consciousness can become very deteriorated. So I think your class was really emphasizing that point of, whatever ashram you're entering into, it should be understanding that our goal is strongly set, and the understanding of what we're entering into is actually properly understood. So thank you very much. I was very inspired.
Yeah, somebody mentioned the other day, at the wedding, Uncle Halchampu, little wedding, that, when you think that I'm entering marriage for my enjoyment, whereas actually it's a service to the other person, to your spouse. You're in this relationship to be of service. But now, like you said, amongst our second and third generation, intermingling boys and girls, very much okay. It's okay to hang out together, but that's not what scriptures say. This kind of very casual, casual friendship, and where, like you say, no training in the brahmachari. But although one thing is, most of them get married, and most of them do stick with their spouse, kind of a better track record than our first generation, actually. But anyway, then it's this kind of accepting, just accepting, like I say, I think some of you know about Krishna Life. My husband and I go there at least 3 or 4 times a year, and Mahotsaha, he's really down on all of the deviations. Well, so is his guru, right, Bhakti Vikas Swami. But I always say, well, at least they're chanting, at least. He said, why at least? Why at least? Why not higher standard? Why not the highest standard? Why do we keep settling for at least? It should be more, not just at least. We're doing this. But yeah, it's kind of, yes. And here is a lot more saffron than other places. Many temples have none, or maybe one bachelor, in saffron. But anyway, Pancharatna Prabhu, did you still have something? Oh, I'm sorry, you had the mic. Should we? Oh, you can go, because you have the mic.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So first a quick comment, and then an issue.
I live to be corrected.
Oh, absolutely not. I wouldn't consider that. So one quick comment is, as noted in I think a class a couple days ago in the morning, Prabhupada would also refer to grihastas on occasion as grihasta brahmachari. So you could say, or grihasta brahmacharini. I know Mother Kamalini since the early 90s, and she used to take me out actually on book distribution. So she's a dedicated preacher, so a perfect person to be giving this class. Thank you. Also, further on that point, which I didn't make explicit directly, but I was hinting at it, but you were talking about how women can, among the 2 persons who comprise a couple, the woman can be very advanced. I can say in my own situation, I can say that's absolutely true. Subhangara. Okay, and then the issue I really wanted to raise was you were discussing, especially in the beginning, should I not? Should I not? You said it a few times. So, and then discussion ensued about physical attraction. Wouldn't it be nice to have the woman who has all these certain types of ideal qualities? Well, I would say that most likely, at least for men, if and when that time occurs, and for most it occurs, that questioning, that line of questioning occurs in the mind. It probably is on largely on the considering physical criteria. I would say though that ultimately what's subtle the subtle state of the mind, intelligence, and false ego is the real driving force that causes one to do what one does, including entering into the grihasta status. And I recall a time when I was in the Brahmacharya ashram in Boston, and perhaps it has something to do with my upbringing, perhaps it has something to do with my lack of spiritual detachment. But I remember my temple president telling me when I complained that there were too many devotees who were making noise when I wanted to rest, or things like that. Mm-hmm. So then I couldn't wake up on time to focus chanting my rounds and go out on book distribution and do the best. And he says, well, that you may not be suited for living in the temple. So that conversation probably preceded a decision that was made only several years later to enter the Grihastha ashram. But point being that to actually remain as a lifetime brahmachari, one must be incredibly detached. And detachment means that regardless of the good or bad circumstances, not just the heat and the cold, and when sometimes they take a book and sometimes they don't, regardless of that, but also deeper is the honor and the dishonor that comes to one. And deeper than that is the concern that I will or will not be taken care of according to my satisfaction. And unless one is so detached that such concerns are no longer preside over one's mind, and not in a false way, but because one's actually come to terms with it, with these circumstances. Only then can one really remain brahmachari forever. And that's probably more challenging to have that really Brahminical, transcendental state of mind in today's society, because ISKCON is quite young, and ISKCON is a place where materially sick people, so to speak, come to get spiritually better, which means that they bring along with them all their mores and habits and ways of doing things, and their loads of attachments and aversions. They bring it with them into ISKCON. And so so to have a pure Brahminical society to have a pure society where someone who is very Brahminical ought to actually be able to rely on those in the other orders to take care of them. That's not really there properly in our ISKCON right now, where you have
sannyasis and gurus. There's a big, like Bhakti Tirtha Swami used to say, right, about the huge dichotomy, because he was very concerned for the rank and file devotees too. Well, thank you for all of that. Very sagacious advice for everyone. And I don't know if all of you know that at one time, Atman Nivedana was the #1 book distributor in North America for many years. And I think of you because I've been going out with my backpack, and he used to chain he didn't just bring a little backpack, but a huge cart, but he had to chain it to a bench so it wouldn't get stolen. And I thought I should probably get a lock, because around here you never know, right?
There was an umbrella that had a special, that was welded by a devotee who went to art school, and it had a little hook that was welded so the chain could also go through there in case you could take out your umbrella without worrying someone would steal it. It's a big golf umbrella. Several people would be appreciative.
Cool. Okay.
Although that statistic's not exactly.
It is too. At least sometimes you were #1 or 2, top of the charts. But yeah, one time in Bombay, you may have all read this book, Let There Be a Temple, and now Dancing White Elephants by Giriraj Swami, and all the devotees, when they were building that temple, it was a horrible situation, just rats and mud everywhere. But all the devotees were sick they all had dysentery, except one devotee, Bhanu Swami. And Prabhupada said, that's because he's a Naishtika brahmachari, that he didn't get sick. So that's what Prabhupada said. So there's great potency in that. And we see now, he's like a child, even though he's old. I mean, he must be in his 60s at least, but he's so childlike. Late 70s, almost 80. Wow. Yeah, see that. Okay, sorry. One of the ladies had, yes? Oh, Mike. You didn't finish. You didn't start. Okay, go ahead. I didn't want to go too over. Yes.
Yeah, I'll be brief because time is over.
I know you had your hand up in first with Narada Muni, but
Just a quick comment that I was curious and I looked in this particular verse because, you know, the sense of it seems to be, oh, women, 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 women. But I found it curious, or interesting, I should say, that the Sanskrit word used here for women is yoshit. And that's not the only word used for women in Sanskrit. There are many words used. And it seemed to me that this particular word for woman is the one that connotes sex life. And that the essence of this verse and the following one is not so much men and women as sex. That it's the attraction to sex life, which is generated by all of these interactions. That's the enemy. And so that's what it needs to be, you know, fundamentally understood. So that I found that interesting, that the particular word for woman here is not stri, or it's not mohila, or it's not, there are other words that have other connotations. This one is particularly connoting the opportunity for sex life.
yeah, because yoni means vagina. So, yeah, I guess it means that would be close to sex life. And then, okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for class. And I just want to share a good part of Grihastha Ashram. I'm 17 years, 3 children with my wife. Yeah, so we're practicing Krishna consciousness, trying to practice it
What
with
did you
devotees.
say about children?
3 children.
Oh, 3,
Yeah. So I can say that, first of all, my wife taught me actually so many things. And I believe that it's very tough sometimes, that I'm learning from relationship from this, and that actually how to be responsible for emotions as well, for her emotions, how I react. And this is very actually hard for me, because I was like telling what I think, not thinking about her emotions. And as my Guru Maharaj said, that Krishna consciousness is when you think what promotions you will provoke from the person you're speaking to. So basically this is ashram, and I can say that without my wife, I cannot advance in my Krishna consciousness. And it's so beautiful with kids as well. They're seeing how we try to get along. I mean, in good way. You know, we always get along, but make more progress. And one more thing I would like to add that very important for us is that I recommend to all Grihastha in ISKCON regularly invite devotees to home. Brahmachari, even one person just to serve prasadam regularly, and it makes so different atmosphere in the family. So and kids also learn from the service attitude.
It's very important. When the other day when Gopal Champu had his little wedding, I mentioned that, how it's so important. And also, you're always on best behavior when you have guests. And also, Prabhupada said if you invite someone to stay with you for 3 days, they will become a devotee. when they're living amongst devotees. So especially that, inviting people to even spend the night, that are just coming to Krishna consciousness, and then they see your lifestyle, and that's like, that's the discrimination, learning what's right and what's wrong, what's cleanliness, what's not, and just basic human principles, well, spiritual principles too. But thank you for being such a great example. So you could probably counsel, anyone needs counsel, he and his wife probably can counsel you. And
Hare Krishna. Mother Kamalini, I'm very appreciative of how straightforward your class was, but also I found it very balanced. I was also appreciating how you brought up Jayapeta Swami and how, this was very, I'm not surprised that he, was one who submitted his class. He's very also to the point and, says things like they are, which I very much appreciate about him as well. I think my question is, I guess from a fact, living here as a resident in Radha Govinda Mandir, it's a primarily brahmachari ashram, and then we happen to be women, Vaishnavis living here as well.
quite a big brahmachari ashram.
Yes, trying to be brahmachari,
compared to
yes.
most places.
The purports mention, while we're not, directly, supposed to be serving, each other in that way, but, we serve together. So I'm wondering how we can best protect one another's in that way to remain in the ashram that, we're in, both men and women.
Yeah, so first of all, common, to be kind and empathic, like Atma mentioned, that's one thing why one wants out, and one may feel like I'm being imprisoned here, I'm being punished being here, because of the lack of others caring about us. Whereas when you have your own space, you can get enough sleep, you can get healthy prasadam, and so many feel like they're serving their term, kind of stuck in the ashram, just waiting. But, like I mentioned how in certain places like Krishna Life, Atlanta, and in India, they have very strong camaraderie, the brahmacharis. And then they're so satisfied in that company of caring about each other. So that's the thing, care, then you will be very satisfied and not feel like you're being imprisoned here. So that's the main thing, and and protecting the opposite sex, by that respectfulness and not doing anything to agitate them and all. But I think you're doing a good job, and of course, naturally, we gravitate towards certain people more than others. Some I lived at the 55th Street Temple, and then I see some devotees that also live there, and I realize I never once had an encounter with them. They never spoke to me, I never spoke to them, especially departments, there's the Pujari department, the book distributors, the cooks, and, according managers, often they are in their own sangha together. When it's a very big, there were 100 brahmacharis in the old Henry Street Temple and 30 brahmacharinis. And naturally, you spend time with people doing your particular service as well. But, not that there's enmity or anything, but just natural. So yeah, we try to be kind and caring, especially if one gets sick. That's the time, your mind is weakened also by being sick. So everyone's probably getting hungry. Is that okay, or you sure? Okay. You could probably tell us advice too, but thank you all very much for allowing me. This is my very first time ever speaking, although I joined at the old Henry Street Temple but I never ever have spoken in front of Radha Govinda before, so I got initiated in front of them and married in front of them. So, Jai, all glories to Śrimad Bhāgavatam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya. Oh. Oh, thank you.